The world is ablaze these days with philosophies and theological viewpoints addressing spirituality, and in particular, the process of spiritual formation. The reality is that we're all being formed spiritually. In fact, really, spiritual formation is not an option. For every thought we hold and every action we take, every emotion we allow to shape our behavior, every response we make to the world around us, every relationship we enter into, every reaction we have toward the things that surround us and impact our world, these things, little by little, are shaping us into some kind of being. The question is, what kind of being? Now, one of the most helpful books that I have read in recent years in regards to this process of being formed spiritually is one written by Dr. Robert Mulholland entitled Invitation to a Journey. In this book, Dr. Mulholland gives us a simple definition that I want to hold up to you today of what's involved in the uniquely Christian process of spiritual formation. He says this, 4 parts to this definition, that Christian spiritual formation is a process of being conformed to the image of Christ for the sake of others. Process of being conformed to the image of Christ for the sake of others. I want to use that definition to give us a little bit of guidance in the additional things we want to say to each other today. If you ask most Christians about their spiritual pilgrimage, they'll say that it's a day-to-day experience with its ups and downs, its victories and defeats, its successes and failures. But if you were to ask them how God works transformation in their lives, many would indicate that God zaps them at some point and instantly changes them. Often our spiritual quest becomes a search for the right technique or the proper method or the perfect program that can somehow immediately deliver the desired results of spiritual maturity. And our culture certainly doesn't help with its deeply ingrained instant gratification way of going about life. What we fail to realize is that the process of spiritual formation is a primal reality of every human being, of human existence. Everyone is in the process of spiritual formation. Now, like many of you, I grew up in a Baptist church that stressed conversion far more than transformation. I heard a lot in virtually every sermon about what a sinner I was and how much I needed to give my life to Jesus and be baptized. And that all is very true. I heard far less, though, about the ongoing process of spiritual transformation that would, out of necessity, require all of my life. The Christian journey is an intentional and continual commitment to this lifelong process of growth toward wholeness in Christ. Paul says it this way in Ephesians, and it is a process of, quote, growing up in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ, until we attain to mature personhood, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. It is for this purpose that God is present and active in every moment of our life. He wants to form us into this wonderful image of Christ that will evidence itself for the sake of others. Now, spiritual growth in large measure is patterned on the nature of physical growth. We expect a little baby to grow into maturity according to the processes that God ordained for his or her physical growth toward wholeness. The same is true of our spiritual life. But while we're talking about little babies, I'd like to share with you or introduce to you someone who has already captured a very special place in my heart. I'm going to hold up a picture. don't expect you to be able to tell anything about it, but I'm going to do it just the same. And you'll have to trust me that there's stunning beauty represented here. In May of this year, our son Jordan and his wife Erin will become the proud parents of a little girl or a little boy. This is my grandchild, my first grandchild. And Barbara and I will become his or her doting grandparents. Now, Erin and Jordan are choosing to keep this little one's gender a mystery. They don't know. I don't know. I'd like to know, but I can wait. But for the purposes of my remarks today, I think I'll refer to this little one as she. So, is God already involved in forming this little one? Well, the psalmist has no doubt that when he sings the words, "You created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." When calling Jeremiah, the Lord proclaimed, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Without a doubt, in my mind and heart, I believe that our Creator God is ultimately in control of forming our grandchild, and that even as I speak, our Father is knitting this little one's body and soul together. But there are other forces contributing to baby Booth's formation. The genetic information that flows down through the generations of our family and Erin's family, and uniquely will contribute to her identity as a human being. And after she is born, her bodily needs that will signal hunger for food and the necessity for sleep. And more importantly, the consistent and unconditional love of her parents and grandparents and caregivers and teachers and spiritual guides who will be committed to creating safe spaces for her to explore and discover and question life in all its wonder and complexity. But the day will come when this maturing young lady will have a choice to make, a decision as to who or what will give ultimate focus and purpose to her life. I'm confident her mom and dad will teach her about God and his love for her. And I know her grandparents will read the Bible to her and tell her the stories and sing songs about God's love for her. But it will be her decision as to if, and if so when, she will choose to follow Jesus.